Okay, I'm just going to say it. That $400 pair of glasses you're wearing right now, the frames cost somewhere between $5 and $30 to make. That's it, $5 to $30. The markup, the gap between what it costs to manufacture and what you paid at the counter, is somewhere between 1,000 and 4,000%. And the reason you paid that much is almost entirely because of one company that most people have never heard of, even though it controls the majority of every major eyeglass and sunglass brand you have ever considered buying. And here's the part that makes this even wilder. The company I'm talking about doesn't just own the brand you bought, it owns the store you bought it in. It owns the lenses inside the frames. It potentially owns your optometrist's retail display. It built a system so complete, so vertically integrated, that when you walk in to buy glasses, every single option you think you're choosing between is theirs. And most people, even people who consider themselves pretty brand aware, have absolutely no idea this company exists. By the end of this video, you are going to know the full origin story of how one orphaned boy from Milan, Italy, built the most dominant retail empire in eyewear history, starting in a tiny mountain village in Italy in 1961. You'll understand exactly how the pricing works and why your glasses cost what they cost. And I'm going to tell you exactly how to buy perfectly good quality glasses for as little as $10 legally, legitimately, right now. This is the story the eyeglass industry absolutely does not want you watching. Let's go. To understand how this happened, we need to go to Milan, Italy, July 22, 1935. A boy named Leonardo Del Vecchio is born into poverty so extreme that his widowed mother, she had 5 other children and almost no income, makes one of the hardest decisions a parent can make. She gives Leonardo to an orphanage, the Martinite orphanage in Milan. He's barely a toddler. Now, the Martinite wasn't a cruel place. It was actually a well-run institution that focused on teaching the children a trade. And what trade did young Leonardo get assigned to? Working with metal. Precision metalwork, tool and die making, the incredibly detailed craft of carving exact metal molds that other manufacturers use to mass-produce parts. Leonardo turned out to be extraordinarily good at it. Like gifted-level good. And that skill, that obsessive precision with metal and materials, is going to become the foundation of one of the most valuable companies in the history of consumer goods. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Fast forward to 1961. Leonardo Del Vecchio is 26 years old. He's been working in the eyeglass parts manufacturing industry, specifically making the small metal components and stampings that other bigger eyeglass companies use in their frames. And he's noticed something. The companies buying his parts are charging a fortune for finished glasses while paying almost nothing for the components. He's doing the hard part, they're capturing all the value. So he makes a decision. He scrapes together everything he has, moves to a tiny village called Agordo. Population, not many. Altitude, very high. Nestled in the Dolomite Mountains in northeastern Italy. And there, in a small rented factory space, he starts Luxottica. Not a fashion brand, not a luxury label, a manufacturing company. He's going to make complete frames himself, not just parts. And he's going to sell directly to retailers, cutting out the middlemen who'd been getting rich off his work. That's it. That's the founding idea. It sounds simple. It was not simple. Here's the thing about Leonardo Del Vecchio that you need to understand because it explains everything that comes later. The man was obsessed, not just with making glasses, with controlling every single step of the process. Most companies in any industry pick a lane. You either make the product or you sell the product. You don't usually do both because it's complicated and expensive and it's just not how things are done. Del Vecchio thought that was the dumbest idea he'd ever heard. By the mid-1970s, Luxottica wasn't just manufacturing frames. It had built its own distribution company to get those frames directly to retailers. No wholesalers, no middlemen taking a cut. By the mid-1980s, they were one of the largest eyeglass frame manufacturers in the world. They had factory capacity, they had distribution, they had retail relationships, and Leonardo Del Vecchio was sitting in his mountain factory looking at the global eyeglass industry and thinking, I want all of it. So in 1995, and this is the move that changes everything, Luxottica acquires LensCrafters. Now, LensCrafters at this point was already the largest optical retail chain in North America, over 800 stores, mostly inside malls, the places where millions of Americans went to get their eyes checked and pick up their glasses in about an hour. This is a manufacturer, Luxottica, buying a retailer at scale. And the eyewear industry looked at this and kind of collectively went, that's weird. Because manufacturers don't usually own the stores that sell their products. That's not how it's done. But Del Vecchio didn't care how it was done. He now had manufacturing in Italy, distribution across multiple continents, and the biggest retail optical chain in America. And he was just getting started. Okay, this is the part where I need to stop and explain something that is genuinely going to make you want to call your optometrist. Eyeglass frames, the physical acetate or metal frame sitting on your face, cost between $5 and $30 to manufacture. If they're made in China, it's usually on the lower end of that range. If they're made in Italy, which is a big marketing selling point for some brands, it's a bit higher. But we're still talking under $40 in almost every case. The lenses, anti-reflective coating, UV protection, the whole thing, maybe another $10 to $20 depending on prescription complexity for a standard lens. So your total manufacturing cost for a complete pair of glasses? Roughly $15 to $50. And you paid what? $200, $300, $500? The markup on eyeglasses is one of the highest markups of any consumer product on Earth. Higher than jewelry, higher than pharmaceuticals, higher than concert tickets. And it's largely possible because of one thing, a near complete lack of real competition for most of the last 30 years. And Luxottica wasn't finished. In 2001, they acquire Sunglass Hut International. If you've ever been in an airport or a mall and seen that little kiosk or small standalone store with hundreds of sunglasses on rotating displays, that's Sunglass Hut. And at the time of the acquisition, Sunglass Hut had over 1,900 locations worldwide. Airports, malls, tourist destinations, resort areas, the places where people are most likely to impulse buy a pair of sunglasses because they forgot theirs, or because vacation brain kicks in, and suddenly $170 for a pair of Costa del Mars feels reasonable. Luxottica now owned a manufacturer and two of the biggest retail chains for the products they manufactured. The conflict of interest was breathtaking, but entirely legal, and most customers still had absolutely no idea. Okay, real quick, before we get to the part where this story goes completely off the rails, drop a comment below and tell me how much did you pay for your last pair of glasses, like the total, frames, and lenses, because I have a strong feeling the answers in the comments are going to be illuminating. And if you can remember the brand, drop that too, because there's a very good chance it's about to come up. Alright, back to it, because we haven't even gotten to Ray-Ban yet. 1999, Luxottica pulls off what is at that moment the most audacious move in the history of the eyewear industry. They buy Ray-Ban. Now, Ray-Ban had been owned by Bausch & Lomb, the optics and healthcare company. And Ray-Ban was not just a sunglasses brand. Ray-Ban was American pop culture. These were the glasses on Tom Cruise's face in Risky Business in 1983. They were on the Blues Brothers. They were on every cop in every movie for a decade. The Wayfarer and the Aviator were not just products, they were icons, cultural artifacts. And Bausch & Lomb, who, it should be said, had actually allowed the Ray-Ban brand to get a bit distressed and cheapened through the 1990s by selling them in drugstores for under $30, sold the whole thing to Luxottica for $640 million. And what did Luxottica do first? They immediately pulled Ray-Ban out of the drugstores, repositioned it, raised the prices dramatically, and turned it back into a premium product. It worked brilliantly. And then there was Oakley. And this one is honestly kind of a fascinating story because it was not friendly. Oakley had been a fiercely independent brand, founded in 1975 by Jim Jannard, who started the company selling motorcycle hand grips out of the trunk of his car, built it into a globally dominant sports performance eyewear brand. Oakley was loud, aggressive, athletic, anti-establishment. Their whole brand identity was built on being different, being innovative, being anti-corporate, and they absolutely despised Luxottica. Like there was genuine, documented hostility between these two companies. Oakley publicly accused Luxottica of using their retail dominance to strong-arm brands. They called it an abuse of power. And then, in 2007, after Luxottica used its control of Sunglass Hut to reduce the shelf space allocated to Oakley products, which immediately hammered Oakley's stock price, Luxottica made an offer. $2.1 billion. And Oakley shareholders, watching their stock price get squeezed, said yes. The anti-corporate brand was now owned by the corporation. Jim Jannard reportedly was not happy about it. Let me just walk you through what the empire looks like by the mid-2000s, because this is when it starts to feel genuinely unreal. Luxottica owns outright, as in they manufacture these brands themselves. Ray-Ban, Oakley, Pearsall, Oliver Peoples, Vogue Eyewear, Revo, Arnett. But then on top of that, they hold the exclusive manufacturing licenses for the eyewear of Deep Breath, Chanel, Prada, Versace, Bulgari, Burberry, Dolce & Gabbana, Ralph Lauren, Coach, Armani, Miu Miu, Stella McCartney, and on and on and on. So when you're in an optometrist's office and you're looking at a display of Prada frames, thinking, these are Prada, they're made by Prada in Italy, that's why they're $350. They were made by Luxottica, in a Luxottica factory, by Luxottica workers. Prada licensed their name. Luxottica made the product, and you paid for the name. So at this point, Luxottica owns the frames. Luxottica owns the major retail chains. Luxottica manufactures the luxury brand names. But there was still one piece of the eyewear puzzle they didn't control: the lenses. And lenses are actually where a big chunk of the real money in eyewear lives, because prescription lenses, especially with coatings, progressives, and specialty treatments, can cost as much as the frames themselves to the consumer. The dominant global lens manufacturer was a French company called Essilor. They made Verilux progressive lenses. If you've worn progressives, you've almost certainly worn Verilux. They also made transitions lenses, the ones that darken in sunlight. And in 2018, after 2 years of negotiations and regulatory reviews across multiple continents, Luxottica and Essilor merged. The combined company became EssilorLuxottica, headquartered in Paris, France. Market cap at merger, approximately $50 billion. And now, one company owned the brands, the manufacturing, the retail stores, and the lenses. The entire supply chain, end to end, from the factory in Italy to your face. Here is where we are today. EssilorLuxottica controls the majority of globally recognized premium eyewear brands. They have over 180,000 employees worldwide. Revenue exceeds 21 billion euros annually. They operate approximately 18,000 retail locations across the globe, including LensCrafters, Sunglass Hut, Pearl Vision, Target Optical, Glasses.com, and Clearly. They manufacture approximately 250 million frames per year, and they have licensing agreements with more than 30 global luxury fashion houses. For context, the second and third largest eyewear companies in the world combined don't come close to matching their scale. It is, by almost any measure, one of the most complete vertical monopolies of a consumer goods category that exists anywhere in the modern global economy. And it was built by a boy who grew up in an orphanage with nothing. Okay, so here's where it gets personal. You go to your eye doctor, you get your prescription, and then in the same visit, in the same building, often in the same room, there's a display of glasses frames that your optometrist staff is going to help you pick from. Now, your optometrist is a trained medical professional. You trust them, and in most cases, they genuinely are trying to help you. But here's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. The optical retail side of an optometrist practice is a separate business. The frame dispensary is a retail operation, and the profit margins on dispensing glasses are the main reason a lot of optometry offices stay financially viable. So when your optometrist's assistant steers you toward a specific display, it might be great advice. It might also be shaped by what brand the practice has a preferred vendor relationship with. Who makes almost every brand on that display? You already know the answer. This is not fraud. This is not a crime. It's just how the economics of the industry are structured. But you deserve to know it exists. So, is there any way out of this? Actually, yes, and it started with 4 Wharton Business School students in 2010. Warby Parker, named after 2 Jack Kerouac characters, because of course it was, launched with one simple premise. What if we sell glasses directly to the consumer online, with no middlemen, no retail markup, at a fair price? Their starting price point was $95 for complete frames and lenses, at a time when the industry average was $300 to $400. The eyewear establishment thought it was a cute idea that would never work. Within a year, Warby Parker had a waiting list of 20,000 customers. They've since expanded to over 200 physical locations, which is a little ironic, but they still operate with a fundamentally different cost structure. And then there's Zenni Optical, which launched in 2003 and goes even further. Zenni sells complete prescription glasses, frames, and lenses starting at $6.95. $6.95 for a complete pair of prescription glasses. They are now one of the largest volume eyeglass sellers in the United States. All right, practical time. Here's what you actually do with everything I just told you. First, if you need a basic pair of everyday glasses or backup glasses, Zenni Optical. Full stop. Their quality is perfectly adequate for casual use, their prices are extraordinary, and the only reason more people don't know about them is that they spend almost nothing on advertising. Search them, bookmark them. Second, if you want something you wear every day and care about the quality and fit, Warby Parker. They have a home try-on program, their quality control is genuinely solid, and they're legitimately about a third of the cost of an equivalent pair at a traditional optician. Third, and this is the big one, you are legally entitled to a copy of your prescription at the end of every eye exam in the United States. The optometrist is required by law to give it to you, even if you don't buy glasses from them. Ask for it every time. That prescription is yours, and you can take it anywhere. Before we wrap up, I want to come back to Leonardo Del Vecchio for a moment. Because whatever you think about the market structure he created, and reasonable people disagree strongly about whether monopolies like this are good or bad for consumers, the man's personal story is extraordinary. He went from a Milanese orphanage to becoming, by the end of his life, the richest person in Italy, worth approximately $27 billion. He had 6 children with 4 different women, which he was apparently very open about, and somehow Italian culture seemed remarkably unbothered by. He remained deeply involved in Luxottica until his final years. He died on June 27, 2022, at the age of 86. He was, by essentially every account, a genuinely brilliant manufacturer, someone who understood materials, precision, quality, and the psychology of consumer desire at an almost instinctive level. He didn't invent eyeglasses, he just figured out, better than anyone before or since, how to own them all. And here's what ties this back to the paint video we did last week, and honestly to almost every major consumer category you can name. When you walk into an optometrist's office or a sunglass hut or a mall eyewear store and you see 20 brands on 20 different displays, you are experiencing one of the most carefully designed illusions in modern retail: the feeling of choice, the sense that competition is happening, the comfort of believing the market is working for you. But in eyeglasses, just like in paint, just like in beer, just like in pet food, the brands on the wall often share the same parent company, the same factories, the same supply chains, and the same ultimate destination for your money. Understanding this doesn't make you a cynic, it makes you an informed consumer. And informed consumers make better decisions, which is, genuinely, the whole point of this channel. So, final summary, fast. 1. EssilorLuxottica controls the majority of globally recognized premium eyeglass and sunglass brands. Ray-Ban, Oakley, Persol, Oliver Peoples, Vogue Eyewear, theirs outright. Plus manufacturing licenses for Chanel, Prada, Armani, Versace, and dozens more. 2. They also own the biggest retail chains: LensCrafters, Sunglass Hut, Pearl Vision, Target Optical. 3. The markup on glasses is one of the highest of any consumer product on Earth. 4. Warby Parker and Zenni Optical are legitimate alternatives, Zenni especially for backup or casual glasses. 5. Always ask for a copy of your prescription after your eye exam. It's yours. They're required to give it to you. And 6. Share this video with anyone you know who's about to buy glasses, because what they don't know is going to cost them a lot of money. One last thing before you go, because if you liked this one, you're going to love what's coming. Last week we did paint, this week glasses, and next week we're going into the mattress industry. And I promise you, what happens in the mattress industry makes both of those look straightforward. There are over 175 mattress brands in America. Most of them are manufactured by literally 2 companies. 2! And here's the thing about mattresses that makes it even wilder than glasses or paint: you can't comparison shop them. You lie down on one in the store, you feel like it's good, you have basically no way to verify whether the one that arrives at your door in a box is actually the same thing. There's an entire science to why you can't tell. That video drops next week. Subscribe, don't miss it. And if you've been watching since the paint video, you're building a genuinely terrifying picture of how consumer choice actually works in the modern economy. Stay with us, it's about to get a lot more interesting.